So coming off the heels of the Trump administration and their push to protect the Second Amendment, a bill is now being pushed in Congress to create concealed carry reciprocity. So let's break down what is happening. Now, really quick before we jump into this video, I want to thank one of the main supporters of this channel, which is 1st Phorm. 1st Phorm's an amazing company. They're pro-freedom, pro-Second Amendment. They support what we do here on the channel, and also they just have amazing supplements if you're trying to get healthier. So again, check out 1st Phorm. They're a huge supporter of what we do here on the channel. And if you use my link down below and you order something $50 or more, you will get a free 4-pack of energy drinks. So like I said in the intro, a new bill has been introduced into Congress which aims to create national concealed carry reciprocity. The bill we're going to be talking about in this video is HR 38. This bill comes off the heels of the recent promises during the campaign of President Trump to sign into law national concealed carry reciprocity, and recently he put in place that Second Amendment executive order trying to change a lot of things nationwide, and now Congress has introduced this bill to fulfill the promise of national concealed carry reciprocity. This week, the bill is going to head for markup and also head to the Judiciary Committee. And this is very important, and we need to get support behind this so that it moves through the process. Many of you are aware that the Supreme Court has now established that shall issue is the minimum standard for carry permits in the United States. However, you have a lot of states like California, New York, and others that are still trying to restrict concealed carry reciprocity and also restrict the ability for people who are out of state to carry concealed within states like California. This bill will go a long way to stop all of that activity from rogue states like California, New York, and New Jersey. For those not aware, there have been different permitting schemes within the United States. May issue states are states within the United States where discretion has been given to law enforcement by state legislators on when and how and potentially who are granted concealed carry permits. Those states establish requirements like background checks, training requirements, fees, and a lot of other things to restrict how someone can get a permit. However, even if a person meets all of those requirements set out by the state or the local agency, the person can still be denied a permit because discretion is 100% up to the agency to determine who they are going to give a permit to. This type of scheme was just found unconstitutional by the Supreme Court in their 6-3 decision in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin. Now, in contrast to that, you have shall issue states, and in shall issue states, if you meet all of the objective requirements, you shall be issued a license. While this is typically easier than a may issue state and the requirements there, it still involves an application process, potentially wait times, and other objective requirements and standards that a state would put in place. However, the benefit of a shall issue state is it takes discretion off the table, so no local agency gets, discretion to determine who they're going to give the permit to. Instead, if you meet the objective standards, they have to give you the permit. Now, the last one we need to talk about is constitutional carry states, and all of these play into how this bill aims to structure national concealed carry reciprocity. So when it comes to constitutional carry states, there is no permit, or at least one is not mandatory. In a constitutional carry state, the state legislator has established that as long as a person is not prohibited, the individual there does not need a permit to carry concealed. There may still be some restrictions under the law on where a person can carry and how they can carry, like carry in bars and federal buildings and state buildings, but generally the residents are permitted to carry concealed without having to get that permit. The state may still have a permit available, but oftentimes that is more for reciprocity purposes. For example, if someone wants to carry still in another state where an out-of-state permit is required, some states will still offer that within their own state to meet the out-of-state requirements. Now, one of the big issues with concealed carry permitting is that some states refuse to recognize another state's concealed carry permits and makes it a crime for out-of-state visitors to carry concealed within that state. This bill, which has been introduced and is now moving through the process, seeks to fix that very problem. The bill is titled the Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act, and it was introduced by Representative Hudson and is supported now by 178 members of Congress. Now, the Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act would allow for those who live in a concealed carry or constitutional carry state to carry in other states through their permit process or through their own state laws. It aims to make it lawful for you to go visit another state and to carry concealed under that state's permit if you have one of your own or if your home state is a constitutional carry state. So what does the text of this bill state and what does it do? Well, it states that notwithstanding any provision of law, of any state or political subdivision thereof, and subject only to the requirements of this section, a person who is not prohibited by federal law from possessing, transporting, shipping, or receiving a firearm, who is carrying a valid identification documentation containing a photograph of the person, and who is carrying a valid license or permit which is issued pursuant to the law of a state and which permits the person to carry a concealed firearm or is entitled to carry a concealed firearm in the state in which the person resides, may possess or carry a concealed handgun that has been shipped or transported in interstate or foreign commerce in any state that 1. Has a statute under which residents of the state may apply for a license or permit to carry concealed a firearm, or 2. Does not prohibit the carrying of concealed firearms by residents of the state for lawful purposes. So what does this all mean? Well, if this bill were to pass, essentially all that will be required for you to carry concealed in another state would be for you to have a valid state ID, and that is all that really is required if your state is a constitutional carry state. The other option is for you to simply have a valid concealed carry permit from your own home state. And since you have that permit in your home state, let's say something like Texas, and since California also offers permits to its residents, once you visit California, essentially your home state of Texas permit is imported and treated the same as a carry permit in California. The bill goes on to state that a person who carries or possesses a concealed handgun in accordance with subsection A and B may not be arrested or otherwise detained for violation of any law or any rule or regulation of a state or any political subdivision thereof related to the possession, transportation, or carrying of firearms, unless there is probable cause to believe that the person is doing so in a manner that is not provided within this bill. It states that the presentation of facially valid documents of a specific item is prima facie evidence that the individual has a license or permit as required by the bill. So under the bill, if you are pulled over or come into contact with police and they find out that you have a concealed carry firearm, they cannot arrest you, detain you, or do really anything to you if you just show them a valid state ID. If your home state is constitutional carry, that would cover you, or you simply show them your state concealed carry permit, well then that would also be treated the same as a carry permit in a state that you're traveling in. Another important thing to include and mention in this is that in the bill, the term handgun includes any magazine that's used in a handgun and any ammunition loaded within that handgun. So your state laws potentially, on the possession of magazines, standard magazines that hold more than 10 rounds, those potentially would also be treated the same if you're traveling into a state that maybe has restrictions. Now we'll have to see how that really plays out, because I'm sure states like California, New York, and others are going to try to push back against that. But there is mention in this bill about treating, accessories and ammunition attached to these firearms as an actual handgun themselves and treated the same. And you kind of import your own state laws on those items also when you're traveling into a new state. So like I mentioned, this bill is very important. It's not only important because it would help to reinforce the Supreme Court's Bruin decision, but it also would go a long way to fulfill all the Trump promises about national concealed carry reciprocity. He made those promises during his campaign. He's mentioned that multiple times. The executive order to protect the Second Amendment rights potentially also would cover things like this as well. So this bill would go a long way to fulfill those promises. There's always, of course, the likelihood that the filibuster will be used to try to stop a bill like this. So we need all of you to contact your representatives and tell them to support this bill, H.R. 38, which is the National Concealed Carry Reciprocity Bill. No matter where you live, even if you're in a state like California like me, call your senators, call your representatives, tell them that they must support this bill. I will leave links down below to where you can find your representatives if you don't know who they are. And I will also leave a number down below, which is the US Capitol Switchboard, where you can call into your representatives and tell them that you support this bill and they should support it as well. National concealed carry reciprocity is one of those really weird issues where invisible lines on a map are claimed to make your rights invalid, and essentially you would have rights in one state, your home state, but if you travel somewhere else, if you cross an invisible line, suddenly they say that you don't have your two-way rights. This would go a long way to stop that, and Republicans right now have control of the Congress, but we need more support. That we don't have the full numbers to get something like this passed. So we need to win over more individuals within the House and within the Senate, and we need to push back against anyone who does not want national concealed carry reciprocity. So again, Links are down below where you can contact your representatives. Share this video around to other people so they can also contact their representatives and so we can get support behind this bill. So as we get more information, I will let you guys know. But as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And never forget, this nation was built by armed scholars, and this nation will be maintained by armed scholars.